So you guys are wondering the best equipment inside anime expeditions. Now, I know there is unit equipment, but we're going to be specifically going off just standard equipment that you equip to all of the other units. Now, for starters, let's get straight into it. This is the tier list here. We have good physical, good magic, and then just best overall. For starters, we have the enhanced katana. For good physical, it is not one of the best equipments out there, which it does suck because of the fact that it takes a little bit to grind for it, but it's really not that good. I mean, don't get me wrong, critical damage and critical chance is good inside the game, but it's just not consistent enough to actually be higher. Now, moving forwards, we're going to go through Dragon Hilt and the Red Finger. Now, I know the Red Finger, also known as like the Cursed Finger, is good if you're using bleed units, which you'll see it on the tier list higher up later on. But if you're not using a bleed unit, it's basically terrible compared to a lot of the other equipment that's in the game. Now, moving past that, we have 3 swords from Hell and Soul Splitter. So these are the 3 swords from Hell, and then we have the Soul Splitter. Soul Splitter is just really bad because of the fact that it gives you range rather than actual like damage. It's, again, not the best there is out there. There is better, but this is just kind of something that we're gonna have to deal with. Actually, these are supposed to be opposite. It's supposed to be looking like this. I greatly apologize for... Oh wait, what am I doing? Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. This is what it's supposed to look like. So this is the best of the good physical, worst of the good physical. Okay, now we're moving on to the best of the physical. So for this, there's only 4 that I ended up ranking, which is basically just like the normal katana. The normal katana is good because it gives you 10% physical damage and 5% damage overall. Now, moving past that, the Shinigami sword is actually much better because it gives you that 15% damage plus 5%, which is 20% total, plus the 10% critical chance. If, again, this is maxed out. But because of the fact that you're not going to be using it that often when you're attacking, like, let's say, for example, bosses, it's going to be a bit lower in the tier list compared to some of the other ones, especially since Kunai and Warrior's Axe are here. So we're going to pick Kunai and Warrior's Axe. Now, if you look inside the game, you'll actually see that they're very, very similar. So Warrior's Axe is 10% physical damage dealt and 5% SPA. Or minus 5% SPA, while Kunai is just 10% damage overall and minus 5% SPA. So for physical units, yes, Warrior Axe is better, but overall Kunai is technically better for the overall list, which we will get into in just a second here. Now, if we go past this and we go on to the good magic, we have something called the Pirate Slingshot. This basically just gives range, so it's not really that useful, like basically at all. Moving past that though, we have Bamboo Bottle and then the Raid Cape. Now again, these two aren't that good. The Bamboo Bottle only gives like basically range and like cooldown reduced ability, or ability cooldown reduction. And the Raid Cape does give a little bit of damage and some range, but we're looking for overall best damage for the units you're going to be using, so it's just not that good. Moving forwards, we actually have the Magic Orb and the Elf Suitcase. Now, the Magic Orb does give only 5% damage compared to some other things, like for example, the Raid Cape does end up giving that slight bit more damage, but they're basically in the same skill set. They're both in good magic. They're overall just not the best out there. So it's not something that's going to be worth grinding. Anything in good physical or good magic, I would not recommend you get at all. You would really want to go for best magic and best physical. In my opinion, I'll explain later what you should do per character. But as of right now, unless it's the best for physical, best for magic, or best for overall, you shouldn't be attempting to upgrade the stats on it, okay? Now, moving past that, we have the best magical DPS. Now, for example, there is the Shinigami sword, which again is a good item to be added to this list, but because of the fact that it's not very consistent with damage because of the fact of how many enemies have to be in the range, it's not the highest up there. Next, we actually have the kunai sword, or the kunai, and then the Staff of Chaos. Now again, I've already explained the kunai, but the Staff of Chaos is actually really good, or a cursed equipment, sorry, is really good because it gives you minus 10% SPA, which makes you attack 10% faster, which again is really good, but it's just not as good as some of the other equipment that is on this. For example, the magical book gives up to 20% more overall damage, and this being like the best overall damage is extremely good because 20% damage compared to like attacking 10% faster. Let's say your SPA is 10 and you have 20k damage. 20%, oh my god, a new code just dropped. 10% less SPA means that they're now doing, or let's do 10,000 and 10 to make it easier. 10,000 damage in 10 seconds. Now they're doing 10,000 damage every 9 seconds, which again is still good. It's about like 1,100 basically per attack, which is good, but the same thing goes for if it's changed to 1,200 basically every 10 seconds. Now, now you're going to be having like basically, or 12,000 damage, sorry. You're going to be basically having the same amount. You're going to be having about 1,050-ish damage, or 1,100 damage again. So it is very similar, but because of the fact that you're only having to use it for magical, it is better. The accursed equipment is kind of just something that's better like overall to add it. So like for example, I would do like the magic book with the accursed equipment because of the fact that both of these are really good. 20% damage minus 10% SPA, possibly the best combination that you can have. Now moving past that, we actually have just the best overall DPS. Now for starters, we're gonna be having the raid cape. Now, the raid cape isn't that great. I mean, it does give some damage overall, which is good, but there is better. Next, we're going to have the red finger. This is best overall only if you are using a bleed unit. If you're not using a bleed unit, it's really not that good. Moving past that, we do have the 3 swords from hell, which does give 50% damage total, which is really good. But again, there is some other items that are just above this. Moving past that, we have the Shinigami sword, which we're going to add for the 3rd time to the tier list. And finally, the kunai. So best overall means regardless of what the unit is, you should use this. If it's magic, you should use this. If it's physical, you should use this. Now, if I were to give you guys an example of what you should mainly focus on, in my opinion, if you're using a unit that isn't magic nor physical, you should focus on adding a kunai to it and a cursed a cursed equipment, because you'll get 15% SPA reduction and you'll get 10% damage boost, which is really good, and it's the max you can do. But if you're doing a best magic, I would recommend you using the magic book and the accursed equipment. And the reason being for this is because 20% damage with 10% less SPA is absolutely insane. Okay, guys? Now, when it comes to best physical, again, this is something I would recommend is the Warrior's Axe, which is right here, along with, again, wait, I didn't add the Staff of Chaos into this, sorry. It's supposed to be right underneath the, magic book, sorry, there we go. The Staff of Chaos is again a very good unit item, but it's only for magic because it's 1 to 10% magical damage dealt and minus 5% SPA. But if you get something like the accursed equipment, which is just like a best, it doesn't give the most damage overall, but it gives you a faster attack speed overall, meaning your DPS will be higher. It is a very good addition to it. So again, I'm just gonna explain for the final time. If you're using physical, I would go with the Warrior's Axe with the accursed equipment. If you're doing magic, I would greatly recommend you going with the minus 10% the Staff of Chaos with the actual cursed, not the cursed book, sorry, the magic book, because the magic book is 20% damage. The Staff of Chaos is an extra 10% damage, so that's 30% damage extra you're getting with 5% SPA compared to 20% damage and 10% SPA. When it comes to just best overall, I would specifically go with the kunai and then the accursed equipment because of the fact that it does do the minus 10 SPA. The kunai is minus 5 SPA plus 10% damage. This is just my opinion on what I think you guys should be doing overall inside the game. I've tested all these equipments. This is the best I can find with them. Obviously, certain units have their unit equipment that you're also going to want to grind and use because it's very needed for that actual unit. But as an overall, just depending on random magic units and random physical units and just random like psychic whatever units or summoners, etc., this is my recommendation to you guys. Without further ado, that's the end of the video, and I hope you guys really did enjoy. I spent a lot of time on this and a lot of time trying to test them all out, and I do hope you enjoy. Have a great day.